Today we are talking about the big bleed. What the F is that? Why are we talking about it? Let's dive in. Let's dive in, but before we do, make sure, quick little housekeeping, you subscribe to our channel. Come and join us and become your own Feminine Flow CEO. Embody this energy. You are here to revolutionize the world and to really create and reinfuse this balance into how we are showing up, working and living and creating success. So hit that subscribe button below, like this video, comment, let me know what your biggest takeaway was. This is such a powerful practice for you to do, even if you want to keep it private and write it in your journal, but it's going to be really beneficial for you to just tune in and recognize for yourself, okay, what really resonated with me here, because that's going to be a way for you to really process it into your subconscious mind and start making that part of your truth in this reality. Again, share this video with someone you love, pass it on to someone who you know would appreciate it. And check the description below to find out all the ways that you can dive deeper into this work. I've got some free gifts for you, as well as some really accessible ways that you can start working with me. So make sure you go check that out as well and dive a little bit deeper. Okay, let's dive in. So today we're talking about the big bleed. So the big bleed is a really powerful part of cycle syncing. It is a way to really activate a deeper part of what cycle syncing is all about. And so I'm going to really quickly just go through the little flow, because this is not a course video. I can't go into everything, but I want to give you a background so that you understand what's happening. So cycle syncing is what we're going to be talking about today, specifically cycle syncing with your body, cycle syncing with your womb and your inner rhythm that happens every single month. So every single month, as a womb-bearing person, as a woman, you have your menstrual cycle and you have your 4 phases that you go through. So these 4 phases, we can really get into it, but I'm going to refer to them as inner spring, inner summer, inner fall, and inner winter. And so when you have inner winter, that is the part of your month-long cycle where you have your period, or where you have your bleed. And this is a really powerful part of your cycle and part of your month. And it has unfortunately been a part that we have really learned to suppress, to push away, and to really disregard. So when you think back to getting your period, maybe when you first got it, what were some of the messages that came up, right? What did people say to you? Who talked to you about your period? Did anyone really support you in it? Maybe you did have a really great supportive system. And then on top of that, I want you to think about what were the messages that you received on the outside, because I personally did have a very supportive system in the educational process, but then the environment that I was in, and I think that this is true probably for most of us in Western society at least, it wasn't something that was accepted when it came to work and rest and school, and like having really bad cramps. It was like, just get over it. Like, you're doing gym class, like figure it out. And you're like, well, I'm like very much in physical pain right now. Can we please talk about this? And it was just something that you really, in my opinion, and from what I've done in my work and what I've seen, that we've really learned to kind of press to the side and devalue what we're actually experiencing in our body. So I'd be super curious to hear in the comments below what you resonate, or how you resonate with this, and what has come up with you in that experience. But because of that, and because of so much of this conditioning, we think, okay, well, this is just a nuisance for me. This is just a nuisance. This is just something that I need to get through. This is just something that I need to figure out for the next 3 to 5 days. And like, if I'm on the bathroom in fucking pain, I'm just going to take an Advil and it's going to be fine. And we're going to get through it. And this is a huge part of the work that we do in my community and in Rest for Success and with my clients, because we are changing that narrative. We are not in a space where we have to succumb to the pain that we experience and just put up with it and see our bodies as something that's getting in the way. Our bodies are actually the literal foundation and the blueprint for how we're meant to be showing up and living. And so if we keep pushing them to the side and disregarding what they're giving us and what they're telling us, then we are missing a huge part of our puzzle piece and how we're meant to be showing up here. And so looking at the menstrual cycle then, and specifically at your bleed, the phase of your period is an incredibly powerful and deeply intuitive phase. When you are tapped in to the power of your period and of your bleed, what we talk about is inner winter. And inner winter is the time during your bleed where you are really meant to slow down, come back, be within yourself, remove yourself from the rest of the world. And a lot of the times with clients, when we're talking about cycle syncing, It is about planning your work in order to really take some extra time on those days to slow down more, to not be running after a to-do list, to be in your body. The reason for this being is that on a physical and scientific level, there's actually a lot of connection that's happening within your body at that time, and a lot of downloads and clarity that gets to come through to you. It's an incredibly potent and energetically magical time. So of course, if we're going and moving around and doing all of this stuff all the time, and we're not moving away from our to-do list and our very intense, busy lives, we're not going to be able to hear what comes through to us. And there have been so many moments where I couldn't take, the whole period to like really slow down, but I really intentionally try and do that in the evenings or on the weekends, or take an extra day off here or there. And the amount that has come through to me when I really take the time and space to do that has been absolutely monumental and so impactful in my own journey and how I've been showing up and what has come through and how I've activated that in my business and as well. Like I owe so much to that, right? And so doing a big bleed, what that essentially means is taking your bleed and taking it one step further. And this is something that I started doing maybe 2 years ago. And the purpose of it is to not just be in your menstrual phase during that time and say, okay, I'm gonna just be cautious and like try and be present as much as I can, but where you really intentionally plan time off during that time to be in this bleed. And one of the things that I love to refer to here, and I know that there's so many women doing great work around this in the world, is something called the red tent. And there's a book on this and it's absolutely amazing and I highly recommend it. The red tent basically is this practice, or also symbolic metaphor, of during your period going into the so-called red tent with your fellow bleeding sisters, because at that point in time, living together in a completely different era and age, all syncing up together with the moon and being in this space of sisterhood during your bleed, to rest, to relax, to connect to your body, to connect to your intuition. And that is the intention and the idea behind the big bleed, where you're actually removing yourself from the world in some way, shape, or form. So I talked about this a lot a couple weeks ago on Instagram, and I literally didn't leave my house. I stayed home. I was completely alone. I made sure that I would be alone to really just be in this space. And I could have equally, if there were other people living with me or in my space, I could have very easily equally gone to a hotel for the weekend, or gotten away for the weekend, or gotten into nature for the weekend. And again, it doesn't matter what you do. It's not something that you need to be spending money on. If you are living with someone, to say, hey, like I'm going to go through this, and like for the next 2 days, like I'm going to just stay in our room or in my room, and like I'm going to take it really easy, like communicating what you're going through, not expecting them to do anything to necessarily be part of that with you, but just to have that acknowledgement and understanding. And giving yourself the space to really be. So there's a few reasons additionally why this is so important. Number one, of course, the clarity, the downloads, the immense amount of intuitive connection that you have during your period is so massive that when you really create space for it, so much comes through. And this means like creating space to just lie on the couch. Like that's what I did. And when things come up, to write some things down and to read and to just walk and be in nature, and to really like allow yourself to be in this inner winter, to be in this phase of hibernation. That is first and foremost so impactful. And again, you can do that with any part of your cycle or any time. It doesn't need to be like a big bleed, but having that space and that time to do that, even on a deeper level, is obviously going to give a deeper level of impact. On top of that, what it really comes down to is having a deeper energetic recharge. Again, we talk a lot about this with the concept of a rhythm of rest, and that if you want to be managing your nervous system and really bringing yourself back into a receiving mode state, a receptive state, a place where you can magnetize things, we need to be in a place of pleasure. And that is what happens when we're in the parasympathetic nervous system. And so actually giving yourself that time to come down in a way that's a little bit more consistent. So personally, I try to do this at least twice a year, like a really big bleed where it's like, okay, and not like literally, but figuratively, right? Like to really take the time away, to really disconnect, to really plan a trip or a vacation around this, to really step away. And it's such a deeper experience of rejuvenating my energy that I can't even compare to a normal cycle. But the normal cycle is still incredibly impactful, and I still take the time to do it. But of course, with our modern world, it's hard to do that every single month. Like, I can't just take 5 days off every single month at this point in time. And who knows, maybe that's something I'm going to do. But I also know that that's just not true for most of my clients who are working professionals as well, or building up businesses. So there is always your own unique situation and your own unique balance that you are meant to be uncovering and discovering with this. But the whole point behind it is really, okay, how can I create more of this intentional space? How can I really lean into this? Because number one, clarity, guidance, and intuitive hits that are going to come through are going to completely guide you in a new way that you might not even realize, especially if you have like something big that you need to make a decision around. Maybe it's a relationship, whether or not you should be in it or get into it. Maybe it's a business decision. Where should my business go? Like, sit with it, bring it into your big bleed. And then on top of that, again, the energy levels that you are restocking is going to completely change the way that you're showing up. And it's going to really help manage that nervous system regulation as well. So I'm going to leave you with that, the big bleed. If you have any questions below, let me know. Again, there's so much more to cycle syncing, but I wanted to just share this bigger concept. So once again, subscribe below. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was. Let me know if you've ever done something like this. I always have additional resources. So if you have any questions, let me know and I will point you in the right direction. Like and share, and I will see you back here next time.